know one thing when I get home today.
You gonna nap?
I'm not napping. I'm going to sleep.
So we had a question on last week's Sunday vlog. This one right here. From Time-Lapse Outdoorsman. Hello. The Time-Lapse Outdoorsman says, next Sunday vlog about in-ear monitors. So Fuller and I will tell you about the kind of in-ear monitors that we use. Maybe we'll talk about some things to consider if you're looking to buy some in-ear monitors. We'll probably recommend some in-ear monitors for you, whether you're on a budget and you're looking to get the best deal, the best value for your money, and maybe also if you're looking to spend a little bit of money and you want to get some really high quality in-ear monitors, molded versus non-molded in-ear. So all kind of stuff to talk about. So
maybe talk about what in-ear monitors are.
Maybe we'll talk about what they are. Yeah. As for now, it's time for us to go to
Dunkin' Donuts, because America runs on Dunkin'. Hi, could I get a bacon, egg, and cheese croissant, regular coffee with 4 cream, sausage, egg, and cheese croissant, large coffee with 5 creams and 2 Splendas?
And a large hot with 5 cream and 2 Splendas, alright.
5 cream, 2 Splenda.
And you?
That's it.
It's a Sunday morning, 5:30 a.m. band and production meeting in the parking lot. The Frozen Chosen. Is that what they say?
5:30 a.m. Miracles happen every day. That's right.
Here we go. You playing bass today, Buster?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Everybody, this is Buster Melvin.
How you doing?
He is the man and family.
This morning, I want to remind us that we're in this together. That regardless of what's going on outside in this world, that we are in this together. There's in Philippians chapter 2, it says, if you have any encouragement from being united with Christ, if any comfort from His love, if any fellowship with the Spirit, if any tenderness and compassion, then make my joy complete by being like-minded, having the same love, being one in spirit and purpose. When you and I, the body of Christ, do what Paul says and we work together, what would happen? What would happen, y'all? If we decided that the church, that Axis, that Newhope, we were going to be known for being compassionate.
This is the Apostle Paul. This is the greatest proponent of the Christian faith in the history of humanity. This is the man who wrote most of the New Testament. Here he is facing death, and he's like, listen, pour your life out. Whatever you do, leave a legacy. You stay focused on Christ. You live out this legacy that Paul gives us. And the Bible says, when you get to the end of your life, like the Apostle Paul, you will receive a crown of righteousness. I lay it all down to take up the cross, 'cause all I know is everything I have is love in Jesus. If you're not my one, everything I need right now. All I need is you right now. Come on and just pray out to Him today. Ask Him to be your everything today. He is all we need. Everything I have is love.
this camera to focus. I got to go to manual focus mode.
It's hard to focus, Brian. A lot of people don't like to rely on this, and probably this probably won't be a popular statement among a lot of filmmakers, but I really rely on focus peaking a lot.
Hey, we're between services. I would like to take you on a brief history of the in-ear monitor.
History of the in-ear monitor.
I heard this on a podcast, and I confirmed it via Wikipedia, so it's
All right. WikiLeaks.
so it's almost maybe true.
Jay Harvey.
Jerry Harvey was an audio engineer touring with Van Halen
Never heard of him.
in the mid-'90s. And Alex Van Halen, brother of the
Eddie.
famous Edward Van Halen,
Yes.
that you probably have heard of. They were brothers. Van Halen brothers. They started Van Halen. Wow. Yeah, no big deal.
What have you
But
done?
Alex Van Halen, due to the crushing stage volume
Oh.
of their amps and the wedges, that basically you have speakers.
You
that
will go
can hear
deaf.
back. They one, it was damaging their hearing.
Yeah.
So they couldn't hear, period, and they couldn't hear each other. And so he asked their audio engineer, Jerry Harvey, what he could do. So Jerry Harvey, being entrepreneur
And brilliant man.
and brilliant man, thought, let's take a mold of the inside of Alex's ear, and then he went to Japan and found like these tiny electronics, and then he got a like some tech from hearing aids.
To help, yeah.
For miniature
Yeah.
speakers,
Yeah.
basically. And he created a dual driver in-ear monitor inside of a mold fit to Alex Van Halen's ear.
Wow, I did not know that.
Yeah,
That's
pretty
incredible.
interesting. And so they were touring then with Skid Row. All the guys from Van Halen started using them. All the guys from Skid Row started using them.
Wow.
And then word spread among
Harvey-
the rock community.
then Harvey started
So
his
Jerry
company.
Harvey started Ultimate Ears, which still exists,
Yep.
although he doesn't own it. He now runs the company JH Audio. Jerry Harvey. JH
I've heard of
Audio.
him.
Both of them really high quality in-ear monitor.
That's a great lesson. I did not know that.
Yeah, I thought that was really
I'm
interesting.
a better
when I heard
person
it.
for knowing it.
Yeah.
And I'm so glad it's Van Halen.
So basically, when you do monitoring, you have two options, really. Well, you have three. You
A
don't
big
have any.
speaker pointing at your face.
Those would be called wedges.
Wedges,
Yeah.
old school. Lots of people do it.
Yeah.
And now direct line right into
And
your
then
ear.
basically
Yeah.
headphones.
Or nothing, relying on the house,
nothing.
which is equally as terrible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like when I grew up playing, we had wedges because they're the
Yeah, we
cheapest
all
way.
did. Yeah.
But you get a lot of stage volume. So you've got speakers pointing out to the audience,
And a lot of
congregation,
feedback.
and you get speakers pointing in,
Yeah.
and then nobody can hear themselves louder than anyone else, and you keep turning everything up, and everything starts feeding back.
Yeah.
What a lot of people want to do is eliminate stage volume, which is nice.
Stage volume, and you know now with click tracks and stuff, you
have to
can't
have
have
a
that
click.
going through the floor wedge or everyone will hear it. So in-ear monitoring has given us the opportunity to be able to hear things only in our ears, like a band director whispering to you, "Go to the chorus."
Yeah.
You know, which is kind of cool. Plus, overall, just your health for your ears,
Yeah.
much better. And
So-
sound guys love it
Yeah.
because it's less for them to have to fight against.
Right.
Yeah.
So we can, in a different video, talk about how to set up a monitoring setup in your
Yeah.
church. We just want to talk about the actual
Yeah.
in-ears today. So what do you use for?
I'm currently using, I'm probably out of everywhere, I probably got the worst ones. I'm using Westone triple drivers,
Oh,
which
those are
sound
nice.
great. They're
Yeah.
not molded, they're just the standard ones you
You got
buy.
big pieces of foam.
Yep,
So-
I got these little pieces of foam on here that come off, which is good hygiene because you can, if someone else wants to use it, they can just grab a new piece of foam, they stick it on there, and then you just kind of squeeze it, put it in your ear till it expands. That gives you that nice isolated pocket, which gives you all that definition and low end.
The cheapest route you can go is probably like your iPhone or iPod headphones, and those are not what you want.
Don't do that because they're white.
Yeah.
Like, don't use white ones. They just, white looks terrible. Use either black, try to get black, or flesh colored.
Yeah.
White, pink, skull candy, those look really tacky.
And there's a difference there. You're talking earbuds versus ear canal monitors.
Yeah.
So you want for on stage, it's better to get like isolation.
Yes.
The only way you can do that is to shove something as far
In
into
your
your
ear,
ear as you can.
Yeah.
That's like what it's made to do.
Yeah.
So in-ear monitors are what you want. I'm using a set of they were 1964 ears.
Yeah.
And now they've changed their name to 1964 Audio. This is their V6 stage model.
Is that a 6 driver?
So it's a 6 driver.
That's nice.
They're not cheap.
Those are not cheap.
I splurged on this.
I envy.
But these are molded. So the only person that really can wear these is me.
Or your doppelganger.
Yes, or a genetic twin, which I do not have.
It's a bizarro world.
So what you do is for molded in-ears, and this is what Jerry Harvey did in the 90s for Alex Van Halen, is you go to an audiologist and they inject a mold, like almost like foam, way into your ear.
It's like silly putty. Almost.
Yeah, it was a weird experience because when they did it in my ear, it was like it blocks all
everything.
The sound.
Yeah,
it was like complete silence, which was like kind of
freaky.
It was weird, but I enjoyed it.
They only did one at a time, though, right?
Yeah,
because they didn't want to totally freak you out.
Actually, no, they did them both. At the
did
same
they?
Time. Yep.
Wow.
Yeah, you sat here and they just both.
That's
at the
crazy.
Same time. Yeah. And then you have to sit there in the gel sort of the foam forms, and then they just pull them out.
I think it's the same stuff they use in the dentist too.
Yeah, same kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then they have a mold of your ear, and then you send that mold to whatever company you're working with.
Yep.
And then they build these out of acrylic or whatever they make.
Based on your mold.
Yeah, based on your mold, and then you can get whatever models they offer.
And those are detachable, right?
Yeah, so you can pull comes off. And so I can give you some close-up shots of these if you want to see them, but basically it's like this is what the inside of my ear looks like.
It looks like a piece of used chewing gum.
It does, kind of, actually.
For a big mouth.
Yeah. So let's talk about cheaper options for people.
Yeah,
because
so
you've got triple drivers. They're
yeah,
not
so
the
I think
cheapest in
the
world.
cheapest option. Well, I mean, the cheapest option is you go to the dollar store and you buy a cheap pair, but you will regret that. Don't do it. It's terrible. It can't handle any of the frequencies. The most realistic cheap option would be like if you went to Best Buy or something and bought a $20 or $30 set, again black. Some of them do have the foam. You got to find them that have the detachable ends.
Yeah.
For a long time we used Sennheiser. These wireless Sennheiser packs actually come with a set and they're okay.
Yeah.
Like when I forgot these one time. I left these at my house one time, and so I used the standard Sennheiser ones, and I could tell a big difference.
Yeah.
So.
And those are going to be single driver.
Yeah, they're single driver, and they have the rubber tips on them, so they don't give you as good of isolation.
Yeah.
But they're about $70 or $80. But they're good sound quality. But when you move up to the Westtones.
Westone is great.
Yeah, I think the single driver Westtones are about 100, 120.
Well, I think there's a couple options in that deal. What I always recommend when someone asks me is to save up so you can spend about $100
at least, yeah,
and buy a set of Shure SE215s.
Yeah, those are pretty good.
They're a single driver.
Yeah.
The Shure SE215, they're about $100.
Yeah.
Westone makes a single driver that competes with it. Those are two great options. And if you want better sound quality, you just move up to more drivers. So
yeah, it's like basically, the difference between, one Walkman speaker would be one driver, and then you add like a high-end tweeter would be a second driver, and then a low-end woofer. So like the more drivers you have, the more frequency spectrum you have.
Yeah, so what they do is they take the frequency response and they break it up into pieces. So if you have a dual driver, you get a high and a low. Fuller's triple driver will have one driver handling the lows, one driver handling the mids, one driver handling the highs.
Now, I will say this too. If you're a vocalist, a single driver is probably plenty.
Yeah.
If you are a bass player or a drummer, you should invest in a triple driver because if you really want to hear the punch and the fatness of the kick drum and the low end of the bass, you're going to want a triple driver.
And a lot of companies make a quad.
Yeah.
A four driver where they've got two low end drivers.
Yeah, if you really want that punch.
So if you really need to hear bass.
Yeah, and if you're a guitar player, you might want a double driver, hear some of the more mid-range
frequencies. So like the six driver I have gives you two lows, two mids, two highs.
Yeah,
two drivers for each.
That's pretty sweet.
They're really great.
Yeah. I can only imagine how good they sound.
They do sound good.
I can only dream.
They do sound
only
good.
Dream.
Maybe we can make that a reality.
Yes.
So hopefully that answers your question. If you have any other questions about in-ears.
I think probably what a lot of people wonder is, and you mentioned maybe talking about it in a different video, but, how does it all work? Why do you use in-ears and all that stuff? And that is definitely beyond the scope of this video. But, the bottom line is you want a way to hear yourself, and you want to be able to, if you use click tracks, you want to be able to hear stuff that the audience can't.
Right.
And the only way to do that is to isolate it so that it's basically like wearing headphones. Well, and the other thing is too, some people confuse in-ears with wirelesses. totally different things.
Oh, yeah.
In-ears
These are just the headphones.
in-ears are just the speakers that go in your ears, and you can wire them however you want.
Yep.
A lot of our campuses actually have them wired hardline right into the board, because the wireless systems are what gets pricey.
Yeah.
Because a decent wireless a decent wireless system could cost $2,000-$3,000. So people, how can I afford? But you know,
have to.
a lot of us just have the little headphone boxes on stage that were $50 coming from the board, and then a line in, wired in. Most of our musicians don't need to move around.
For years,
that much.
I just had a long headphone cable that went to a little headphone box.
That's it. That's all you need. So there's cheaper ways to do it. Don't be intimidated thinking you have to have wireless in-ears. Wireless in-ears are ideal, but they don't have to be wireless.
Actually, if church considering in-ears versus wedges, if you don't use wireless, I think in-ears are probably significantly cheaper.
Oh, absolutely.
If you run little headphone boxes and extension cables.
By the time you
that's all you have
get
to
wedges and amps for every musician, you're tens of thousands of dollars.
Yeah, so.
As opposed to little headphone jacks,
yeah,
a couple XLR cables.
And we can talk about how to set that up, because I'm assuming many of you have a lot of questions about how you do all that. So we can talk about that in another video. But yeah, hopefully this answers your questions about what the heck you see in people's ears whenever they perform.
Like a tidal wave, crashing over me, rushing into me. Your love is big, like a hurricane that I can't escape, tearing through the atmosphere. Your love is big, all the way my Savior leads me. Who have I to ask beside? Could I doubt His tender mercy? Who through life has been my guide?
And now we start the week of finishing off our film.
2 weeks.
Yeah.
So this is Jesse. This is Dave.
Whatever this is right now has gone on for far too long.
My first.
God.
All right, we're on our way home, and we have some questions for you then. So, first question is, how many of you use in-ear? Do you use in-ear monitors or wedges, or a lot of people use a combination of the two?
Yeah, or none.
Or nothing. Here's another question: how many of you would like to use in-ears, but are having difficult? If you're a worship leader, are having difficulty convincing leadership in your church to make that leap?
And maybe what are the top 3 reasons you're not using in-ears?
That's a good question.
Because we'd like to help you figure out ways to break those obstacles.
Yeah, and I have a feeling that a lot of you will want to know more about how to set up in-ears in your churches. So that's definitely something that Fuller and I are going to think about, how to best present that information, because there are so many things you could do. I think what we could do is like a budget setup, sort of a hybrid, like a lot of what our campuses have is sort of a hybrid setup. So, maybe 2 or 3 people that are on wireless packs, and everyone else in the band, sort of, you could think of it as your back line, is on line, is not wireless. They're lined in, using headphone amps. And that's a pretty common thing. So like your singers and worship leader out front are wireless, and everyone else, like your guitar player, your drummer, your bass player, piano, everything, keys, are not wireless.
And you always fear what you don't understand.
Right.
And for a lot of people out there watching, I think maybe wanting to get into using in-ears or not sure how it works, in-ear monitors and stuff, and it's just almost scary because of the lack of information. But I think knowledge is power, and once you start to really put your mind around what they are, how they work, how you can set it up and what you can do, it once you kind of debunk that myth, then it becomes almost like, how did I ever get by without these? And if you're not using in-ears and you're thinking about starting, or maybe you just started and you don't like it, I would also say this, that the transition from monitors to in-ears takes time.
Oh, yeah.
Because it's a weird feeling.
It's different.
Getting back to the Van Halen story, I'm sure the first couple times it was like weird.
Yeah.
But once you adjust, it definitely is preferred. And there's a lot of, positive.
I would say probably the 2 main benefits that you get from using in-ear monitors versus wedge monitors are one. Well, there's a couple. There's more than two. You get lower stage volume, which is always a good thing.
That's a great thing.
Your front of house is like what comes out of the main speakers. That's what that term. For the longest time I didn't know what that FOH meant.
Yeah.
Front of house
mix.
That's just
what the sound guy
puts in the speakers.
Yep.
And then you can have different mixes going to your, but like if you have wedges, they're always going to be hearing some of that in it,
which creates feedback.
Yeah.
And I know for a lot of churches and worship ministries, mic feedback is one of the main reasons they can't get the vocals loud enough.
Oh yeah, they can't
because
get them
you
loud
start
enough.
turning the vocals up, and then they feedback in the monitors. Well, if everyone's behind the speakers, you can turn those microphones up way more because there's no feedback coming.
Yeah.
So that's a huge benefit.
Yeah, I think another one is that you can have your own mix.
Yeah.
If you have the right kind of hardware.
Yeah, there's no bleed.
You have your own individual mix, meaning if Fuller and I are playing in a band together, what I hear in my ears can be completely different than what he hears in his ears.
And I'll be like, I want less Brian, and you'll be like, I want less Brian.
Our names are both Brian, if you don't know.
It's kind of funny.
I thought it was funny. And then the third thing is it allows you to use, and it's typically, it can be better for your hearing unless you crank it.
Yeah.
And then the last thing is it allows you to use click tracks in your worship services.
And honestly, I think that's probably the biggest benefit for us. For us,
yeah. And if you use click tracks wisely, I think that they can enhance the worship in your church tremendously. They can, if you don't use them, like anything, you can use them poorly. And
it can make your experience worse.
It can make it worse. Yeah. But if you use it wisely, and Fuller and I are planning on creating an entire course of content about click tracks and how you use them in your church.
That's going to be awesome.
And monitoring is going to be part of it. It's just a small part of it. But there's so much you can do with click tracks. And you can do it in really any click and backing tracks. You can use it in any number of like stadiums to down to like a church of 50 people.
Yeah.
You can use it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you can use it well.
Yeah.
So